Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, continuing to take a look at the next week's slate, heading back out to the Pac-12 as the Oregon State Beavers, the number 11th ranked Oregon State Beavers, head on the road to play an Arizona team that, if you guys listened kind of in the offseason, I said this Arizona team can be dangerous. But I'll say, I hand up, I didn't know they'd be this dangerous in the Pac-12. Really excited to get into this one. I think this just speaks to how good of a conference the Pac-12 is. I mean, it is deep. There are not many easy games in this conference. The spread's sitting at 3.5 points. It's going to be a good one. Before we get into it, just want to say thank you to you guys. And honestly, especially the Pac-12 fans, this has been a conference I've loved talking about, said in the preseason. This could be the best conference in college football. Y'all have always showed a ton of love. So if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. More importantly, best part about doing this, hearing from you guys in the comment section, picks, predictions, keys to the game. And without further ado, let's get into this one. And I want to start with this Oregon State team on defense, heading against an Arizona offense that can hurt you in a lot of different ways. You take a look at some of the numbers, 38 points or 30.8 points per game. That's top 40 in the country. And last year, they really had a dynamic passing attack, but really were kind of one-dimensional, didn't run the football that well. This is a team that's averaging 4.7 yards per carry. That's top 30 in the country. Coleman is averaging 6.7 yards per carry. This is an Arizona team. They want to throw the football, but they can also run the football as well. Now, the offense right now, a little bit of a quarterback conversation. Jayden DeLore goes out with an injury, and Noah Fifita comes in and plays phenomenal football. Jedfish said, we're not sure who's going to start Saturday night, but he feels good about both, and I don't blame him. I mean, Jayden DeLore, one of the more exciting quarterbacks you see in college football, and then Noah Fifita has come in and has looked really, really good, coming off a massive win against Washington State. Either quarterback, whoever's playing, is working with some of the best wide receivers in the country. I mean, T-Mac, Jacob Cowing, two guys that do different things. I mean, T-Mac, one of the best contested catchers, big bodies in college football, and then Jacob Cowing, just a guy that going to make you miss, a threat to score a touchdown every time he touches the football. I really like this Arizona offense. I think I knew I liked it last year, but I think they've even taken some steps, especially along the line of scrimmage and pass protection and the ability to run the football. It's a really dangerous Arizona team. Now, looking at Oregon State's defense, it's been kind of a wild ride, right? A really good performance against UCLA, forcing a lot of turnovers, bringing one back for 6 points. That being said, you want to see a little bit more consistency from this group, especially from a team that is borderline top 10 ranked in the country, right? You've seen some really good performances. I mean, Utah, UCLA, and then you've seen some performances like against Washington State, even Cal I throw in there, where it's leaving a little bit to be desired. Going back and watching the film, I like the personnel with this Oregon State team. I think they got some really good guys up front in that front seven, and then that secondary, guys like Arnold, Oladapo, Cooper Jr., Robinson. I mean, really good safeties, really good cornerbacks. The personnel's there. When I watched the film and then the numbers backed it up when I was on PFF looking at some grades, this is a talented team on defense. I like the personnel. They got to clean up the missed tackles. You saw it against UCLA. You saw it against Washington State. When this team is tackling in space and making it happen, this is a really good defense and a hard defense to score on. That being said, some of these games you've seen too many missed tackles, too many explosive plays given up, and that's kind of what has bit Oregon State in the butt on defense. If they clean up the tackling, I do think this is one of the better defenses you see in the Pac-12, and Arizona is going to stress you. They're going to play in space, force you to make tackles in space. My eyeballs will be looking at Oregon State tackling in space and kind of limiting those yards after catch that Arizona loves to capitalize on. Now, flipping sides of the ball, don't look now, this Oregon State offense, 15th in the country, averaging 35 points per game, 6.8 yards per play. That's number 9 in the country. DJU has been a massive asset into this offense, but don't get it twisted. We'll talk about DJU in a second. What Oregon State wants to do is run the football, and they do it at a phenomenal level, arguably the best offensive line in the Pac-12. They run that stretch run play, I mean, better than anyone in the country, and you have two running backs in Damian Martinez and Deshaun Fenwick, who, I mean, just absolute hammers, and they kind of grind teams down. Those two running backs are not guys you want to tackle 40-plus times a game. That's exactly what Oregon State makes you do. And so I think they're having a lot of success setting up the run game behind an offensive line that is absolutely dominant with two running backs that are heavy, they're tough, they're hard to bring down, and they just grind some teams down. That's no different than what we saw last year. Now, what I do think is different, and it's kind of brought a different element of juice for this Oregon State team, is DJU coming in. Now, the stats don't necessarily pop out of the page, right? 60%, 15 touchdowns. He's not throwing many interceptions, only 4 in the year. What DJU really brings to this Oregon State offense, which they didn't have last year, and this is not a shot on the quarterback play last year, but it was limited in terms of arm talent. With DJU in there, and yes, there are some consistency problems that you want to see better. Look, he's coming off some really good games. He has the ability to hit and push the ball down the field any way they want to. Last year, like if you wanted to throw a 20-yard out to the boundary, they didn't really have a quarterback that could make those kind of throws. DJU opens up this playbook in a massive way in terms of pushing the ball down the field, making opposing defenses have to defend every inch of grass on this football field. DJU, I think, has made a massive impact on this offense. And you look at him pushing the ball 20-plus yards down the field, he's 18 of 36. And those are some really good numbers, thrown 5 touchdowns, pushing the ball 20-plus yards downfield. I think he's opened up this offense. They still have that identity of running the football. That being said, they can hit those explosive plays through the passing game. Guys like Bolden Gould, absolute, yard after catch machines, but also can stretch the field with elite speed as well. I love how this offense is designed, and it's designed in a way that it's really hard to defend because they're so two-dimensional. Like if you want to try to stop the run, roll safeties in to stop this rushing attack, DJU's a guy that can make you hurt hitting those explosive plays down the field. I think that's why you've seen such consistent performances from this Oregon State offense, because there's not really a way to stop what they're doing because they're not one-dimensional. They can hurt you in a bunch of different ways. Now, flipping the sides, and why I think the secret to this Arizona team and having the success, and something I quite frankly did not see coming heading into the year, knew that Arizona offense would be pretty good. I had some question marks about the defense. And what Jed Fish has done is hammered the transfer portal and has just brought bodies in that are bigger, stronger, faster, and it looks like a Power 5 defense when last year it just quite frankly didn't. You look at what they're doing, 23.5 points per game. That's 46 in the country. This was a team in every single defensive metric last year, was bottom in the Pac-12, bottom in the FBS. They've improved massively on the defensive side of the ball. A ton of new transfers, adding that talent in. Against the run, 3.3 yards per carry. That's 25th in the country. They are very good in the front seven. They come up, they tackle, they fly around the football field. I'm really interested, and that's probably the story of the game here, right? Arizona's good against the run. Oregon State wants to run the ball. How good is Arizona State's rushing defense is probably the question, because they haven't exactly played teams that want to hammer the ball. Washington State, a team that does not want to run the ball, does not run the ball very well. And so you're looking at, can Arizona stop a rushing attack? They've had a lot of success stopping the run. Can they stop Oregon State's rushing attack? That's the big question. The secondary's been the weaker link, 63% completion percentage given up, 8.1 yards per catch. Both of those are outside of the top 100. If Oregon State can get this run game going, force Arizona to kind of counter and put some bodies in the box, I do think this secondary is gettable for an Oregon State passing attack that, with DJU playing like he has the last couple weeks, can really light it up. Getting to the pick here, 3.5 points, and I think that speaks to the respect that Vegas and that people have for this Arizona State team. This is not the former Arizona State team that is the bottom of the Pac-12. It's just not. That being said, I'm going to go with Oregon State covering the 3.5 points. I think Oregon State's just a little bit more complete. I think they'll be able to run the ball. My big question is, how good is Arizona's rushing defense? They haven't really played a team that wants to pound the ball like Oregon State does. I think Oregon State will have some success running the football, be able to hit some explosive plays against a leaky Arizona secondary. And coming out of the bye week, I expect this Oregon State defense to take another step in the right direction. I don't think they've nearly reached their potential of what they can be. And I think you're going to see them get closer to that coming after the bye week. Give me Oregon State to cover the 3.5 points on the road. This is going to be a good one. Again, as an East Coast guy, like, there are some exciting games, 10:30 Eastern time for me to watch while I'm going to bed. Appreciate you guys rocking with the boys again. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.